Welcome to Flawless Shoe Reviews. Today we're comparing the Brooks Ghost 17 against the Brooks Ghost 16. They've made some changes to the midsole, how it feels on the foot and the fit on top. I'll break down these features so you have an idea if it's worth upgrading. So if we look at the midsole first, we still have the DNA tuned nitrogen injected midsole, however they've changed the stack height. So we now have 36.5 mils on the rear foot, 26.5 on the forefoot, giving you a 10 mil drop rather than the 12 mil drop that we've known with the Ghost 16. So all of the previous Ghost models have had a 12 mil drop, so this is the first year they've dropped it by 2 mils, and I think that's a good decision for the general population who'll enjoy that lower drop more. I know there's probably a few of you diehards who have always worn Ghost that might be a little bit upset about it, but I'll touch on that later on terms of how it feels when you run or when you walk in it. Otherwise, a slightly stiffer forefoot as well, because we've got extra padding underneath the forefoot, and now we've got that 26.5 mils under there as opposed to 23.5 mils, and as a result of having that extra stack underneath your foot, it's slightly heavier than the previous model, coming in around 286 grams for a size 9 men's US versus 278 grams in the Ghost 16. And then when we look underneath the shoe, we've got slightly different flex groove patterns in the outer sole, so you can see that we've changed it a little bit so they rotate a little bit towards the big toe, and that just assists with the push off phase of the gait cycle. We also have a slightly different heel bevel at the back of the shoe, so it comes up a little bit more aggressively than what we saw in the previous model, and that ensures a nice smooth transition from the back to the front of the shoe. And actually we really enjoyed having that little bit of extra padding. It felt a little bit softer on landing when you initiated contact with the ground, and it transitioned really nicely to the forefoot. We've always had a problem with the Ghosts in terms of not having enough protection underneath the forefoot when we're pushing off, and they've definitely improved that in the Ghost 17, so it makes a major difference having that extra 3 mils of padding underneath the ball of your foot, something that really enjoyed, and we really felt that the transition was a lot smoother from the back to the front when combined with the heel bevel, the smaller drop, and the extra padding underneath the forefoot. So while the changes are subtle in the midsole, they are quite a big improvement in terms of how it feels on a foot, whether that's walking or whether that comes to running. And as we move up the shoe, they've changed the style of the upper, so we now have engineered jacquard mesh on top, so it's a little bit different and fits in with the pattern of what we see in like the Hyperion. So a little bit different aesthetically, but still plenty of space in the toe box for your toes to splay. It does taper around the top of the shoe, but shouldn't be any issue for the majority of the population, and often the Ghost comes in a wide and an extra wide, but it might not just be available just yet. We have a slightly different tongue on top as well, so it's much more padded than what we saw in the Ghost 16. Not sure that's completely necessary. It didn't affect the lockdown, but it was just something of note. Probably don't need that thickness there for protecting you against any bite when you tighten up the laces. But as I say, excellent lockdown overall. A little bit more padding around the heel cup as well, which just ensures a better lockdown, and it gives that extra element of comfort and probably contributes to that extra element of weight. At the back of the shoe, we've got a typical stiff heel counter that we associate with the Ghost 16 and now the 17, so that helps lock in your ankle, add extra elements of stability. And talking about stability, while it's still a classic neutral shoe, it has elements of stability with the heel counter, has big sidewalls on the inside and the outside of the heel, so we classify this as a stable neutral shoe. The cushioning is quite balanced, so you don't sink into it too much, and actually it's relatively responsive compared to what we felt in the Ghost 16. So we have added elements of stability and a broad base of support that doesn't narrow too much in the midfoot. So some excellent changes overall, a little bit of extra weight, extra stack under your foot with an extra little bit of protection underneath your forefoot. For those of you who like to use it as a lifestyle shoe, still an excellent shoe for walking and standing all day, and in fact if you're standing in it all day, it will give you that extra bit of protection and a bit more even distribution of pressure across your foot when you're standing. When it comes to running, still your classic workhorse of a shoe, so easy miles, longer miles, spending long periods of time on your feet in the shoe shouldn't be a problem. A little bit heavy, or doesn't just transition as quickly as like the Hyperion for doing those up-tempo workouts, but it's not to say that you can't do some early stage strides or some early stage up-tempo workout in them, but it's definitely not a race pace shoe. Overall, some subtle but excellent additions to the Ghost 17. I definitely feel like it's worth upgrading. Feels a little bit more comfortable, especially under the forefoot. So if you're considering them, we've got links to the shoes for Amazon below if you want to check out the latest prices. If you buy through the links, it doesn't affect the price that you pay, but helps fund our channel. Otherwise, if you've got any questions on these models, drop them in the comment section below. Like and share and subscribing makes a massive difference to the channel. Thank you very much for watching.